Hey everyone, thank you for coming today. My name is Tomas van Lok. I am an AI and BI consultant at Schmutz Consulting, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about how machines wait for no one and how we can solve complex field operations with Odoo Enterprise. We'll talk a little bit about handovers, how we can avoid them, how to make timesheets actually easy and fun, and how to, at the end of the day, capture the value of your service. Before we jump into it, if you scan this QR code, you'll be able to get the slides from our presentation. Don't worry, we will not be sending you any marketing emails or anything. It's just, if you want the slides, you have them here. And I'll wait a little bit here so that you have the time to get it. Otherwise, at the end of the presentation, you will also be able to get it again. Moving forward, what is field service actually? It's a very vast word, but it is present in multiple industries. Think of classic technical services, for example, HVAC installation and repairs, IT equipment setups, telecom services. In construction and industrial environments, you also have it where you send someone out to the field to do inspections, to install projects, or even an emergency response. But it doesn't need to be related with a physical thing. It can also be just sending someone out to a building to help someone out. So for example, healthcare visits, cleaning services, and security services. Overall, the way I would summarize it is field service is when someone goes somewhere to do something. So in today's case, we will narrow down into a specific example. Let's think about the global bottling machine industry. In this industry, a couple of things are very important, and specifically for the case that we will be looking into today. So efficiency is key. We're still in the services industry, so margins are narrow and we need to be as efficient as possible. Also, this industry is worldwide, so you might be doing timesheets all over the globe, which makes it important for worldwide delivery. Then it's an industry where you have a lot of standardized procedures for quality control and so on, so we also need to look into that. At Much, we focus on erasing all boring tasks. So no more boring tasks and allowing your customers to focus on what really matters. Much is a gold partner. We have 80 plus consultants. We are in Munich, we are in Lisbon, we are in the UK. And this is the philosophy that we will also be showing you here today. Why is Odoo useful for field service? First of all, it already gives you a very robust and diverse standard base. But field service is very complex sometimes. Sometimes requirements are very rigid. This is where the open source nature of Odoo comes in. It's Python based, so it's easy to customize. It's already very much prepared for mobile, which is important if you're out in the field, maybe you don't have a computer. And we can focus on automations, which in our case, for worldwide field service, means that we can automate handovers from CRM to sales to field service. We can make time zone flexible timesheets. We can also inherit as much timesheet fields as possible. And then at the end of the day, you can charge your customers different rates for perhaps different hours of the day. Okay? How does standard Odoo fit with field service? Usually, you will have the CRM side, so you have your opportunity, which then converts into a sales order. Then you send out your technicians. They're going to work in field service. They're going to track their time in timesheets. And their timesheets go back to sales so that you can send it back to accounting for invoicing, which at the end of the day is the goal of the whole business, right? We need to make money. In CRM, we start storing information. Many times this would be copy-pasted into sales and then copy-pasted into field service. We can automatize this. You only put the information once in the system. Anytime that you have to do it twice, something is wrong. It's boring again. Then for field service and timesheets, we need to make it sensitive to time zones, and we need to inherit the timesheet fields. At the end, we want to charge different rates for different hours of the day. So we want to do the timesheet allocation to the correct sales order line. And with this, we are able to do what we set out to do in the beginning. Let's go into the first bit. So no more handovers. In field service, in this case, with the global bottling machine industry, we basically are talking about machine servicing. So every contact will need to have a machine. This is not standard Odoo, and we add a small tab on the contact, which then is selectable on the opportunity as well, where we start storing which machines are potentially going to be serviced in the sales order. Okay? We expand contacts with machines, and then we select the machines in the opportunity. We are going to create a sales order from the opportunity. Since we already know the machines, let's just inherit it automatically. So the same tab that we created in contacts, in the opportunity, let's create it in sales order and pull the information. But now we need to be careful. Since we are working with field service, machines need to be filtered by the delivery address. I'll show this a little bit later. It's a specific detail from the field service app in Odoo. So we have the sales order with the machines, but we also talked about charging different rates for different types of service and different hours of the day, which is why we need to add multiple sales order lines, and we identify which employee is eligible for which rate and their rates. So in this case, we're talking about John Thomas, a mechanic, and he has a regular rate, an overtime rate, and an active travel. So think from 8 to 8, it is regular. After 8, it should not be working, so we start charging our customers overtime. And then we also need to track his traveling time, which is why we have the active travel type there. With this, we spawn field service tasks. This is standard Odoo, except that the delivery address that is on a field service task comes from the delivery address in the customer that's set on the sales order, which is why we need to filter machines by the delivery address. Since we don't want to be setting up many things at the same time, we only prep one task, assign the employee and the planned date so that the technician knows when he needs to go and work. So the technician now has his work set out to do, and he's going to go to the field. This is the world. We're talking about global delivery, so let's look at the world. But the world is very big, so let's narrow down a little bit, because in this case, John Thomas lives in New York. Okay? So he's going to catch a flight, he's going to come to Brussels, maybe he comes to the expo, and then he actually goes and services only in London. He needs to track all of these timesheets. New York works in UTC -4, Brussels in UTC +2, London in UTC +1, then some time zones change not by the hour, but by 30 minutes, and then you have summer time zones. Not every country has the same summer time zones. It's a mess, and having to do this math is really not fun. So say that he leaves New York at 6:20, arrives in Brussels at 7:50, leaves Brussels at 20:20, arrives in London at 20:35. Does anyone want to do the calculations of these time zones? Because I do not. I already struggle sometimes to schedule meetings across one time zone. Having to do this here would not be fun. And Odoo standard only allows you to put in the duration. So for timesheets, this is the first thing that we did. We expanded it, added a couple of fields, because we already know, in fact, in real world, when the trip began. It's in New York at 6:20, except that we know it's New York, United States. With that, I can calculate the time zone that they're at, so I can do the math for the technician. And the same thing applies to Brussels and London. So we tell the system where you start and at what time, and where you end and at what time. With this, we are able to do all of the calculations for the technician. But now we added a bunch of new fields to timesheets that they suddenly need to fill in. And again, having to do all of these fields every single timesheet, when maybe you have to do 10 timesheets in a single day, that's like 70 fields. I would not want to do that. So what we know? We need to know where we begin. Sure, fill in the 7 time fields. But for the next one, we can fill in just one. Because in fact, your next timesheet is going to start where your current timesheet ends. So we just do some small mapping of the end fields to the start fields, and we can guess most of the fields that the technician is going to begin their next work on. And this way, instead of having to fill in 70 fields for 10 timesheets, they do 7 for the first one, But then for every single other one, they only do 6, so they do 13 fields. So with this, we make timesheets easy and remove the hassle from it. Technician goes and does their work. Now it's time to start invoicing. We need to do invoicing, and in field service, many times you need to get proof of work done. It's very rigid industry. We have requirements, and one of the key requirements that in this case we had was the technician would have to sign their work to promise that they did the work, and then the plant manager would also need to sign it. This is fairly standard Odoo. Small customizations here and there, but no big deal. And then another smart thing that we can do is, why would the technician have to warn their manager that they have done their work? If the customer signed the field service task, well, then it's done. So we can just, with Odoo, notify the plant manager, the project manager, sorry, give him the field service report already in the chatter of the task, and the technician can either go home, go to the next task, but what matters is that he doesn't have to do duplicated stuff. He doesn't need to grab the report and send it to anyone else. Now that we have the proof of work, we need to go back to allocating the timesheets, because the technician logged their timesheet in only one task. Each task is connected to one sales order line, so now we need to spread these timesheets into the correct sales order lines. Again, say that each day has 10 timesheets. Now say that some of those timesheets cross the 8-hour PM threshold between standard rate and overtime, and say that the project actually runs for 2 weeks. Sure, you don't work on the weekend, but then you already have, what, 700 timesheets that you have to start allocating? The odds that the project manager would make a mistake here are not small. In fact, Odoo can handle it, because we know the rules to do the allocation. We set it before in the sales order line. And the information of each timesheet is already in Odoo. So when we go and do invoicing, we just created an allocate feature that allows you to grab all of these timesheets. In this case, we're selecting 4, but it could have been 700, doesn't make a difference. And it just spreads them across the correct sales order lines, which basically enables you to charge the correct rates for the correct work. So what would be the key takeaways that I would like to give you here today? It's the pyramid that I showed you before. In this case, we talked about field service. So Odoo standard already gives you a very robust base of apps. We saw we use CRM, sales, field service, timesheets, back to sales, back to accounting. That's good, but it's not enough, because sometimes there are specific requirements that your customer asks of you. Sometimes you want to charge different rates for different times of the day. This is where we start customizing. But we always need to be sure that we do surgical customizations, because it's also very easy to go and customize everything. In this case, for worldwide field service, we customize the handover from CRM to sales to field service. We do the whole time zone flexible timesheets. We inherit as many timesheet fields as we can. And then at the end, we need to do the allocation of one task to multiple sales order lines. Thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, you can use this link. And also, you have a QR code here that you can get the slides from. And I look forward to it. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for the presentation. We will wait 1 minute just for people getting the link and ask some question. But in the meantime, is it a module that you made it standard for you, or is it something that you made just for one customer?
In this case, it was a module made specifically for one customer. If we have other customers that would need similar features, we would be able to easily repurpose it, because I see a lot of customers needing to charge, for example, for different rates for different times of the day. In fact, Odoo, with Odoo 19, just did the overtime side, but more on the internal payroll. So unfortunately, it's still not in the field service side. And I reckon that our customer was not the only one where they start in one country and end in the other. So I see it being very useful for other projects as well.
Thank you. Have you included something like for warranties, for example, for machine or other under warranties that maybe don't need to be invoiced at the end?
So in this case, that was not part of the project, but we did, when we expanded the contacts for machines, we created the whole profile of the machine. And one of the fields that you have in there is, of course, the warranty and how much time it is under warranty. So in this case, the project manager could easily have an automation rule that fetches that field, and when doing the invoice of the sales order, they could easily get a warning saying, hey, there's something under warranty here, maybe you want to check it.
Okay. Thank you. What was the most tricky part in developing those applications?
Time zones. Time zones. Just talking about time zones is hard. It's like, oh, you start in UTC+1, you end in UTC+4. Just that is already complex. And it also had to do with the way Odoo handles time. So you have, many times when you are tracking time from you do a date range or widget. And within it, it automatically embeds the time zone of the machine where the user is logging their time from. So if you go and try and separate it, it's really not straightforward, and you start going into too much core Odoo. So what we decided is scrap it. We don't use that widget. Sure, it's a trade-off because the widget is nice, but we just let the user tell us in integers at what time they start and at what time they finish, and we do the conversion. But time zones would be for sure the hardest part here.
Have you had any back and forth? I mean, is it fully live on your customer? And do you have back and forth still about these features?
Our customer is currently live with it. These features have been stable for at least the last month. No complaints on that side. There are other things that we want to expand the system on. For example, one of the key things that you can do in field service is sell actual products when the technician is out on the field. So that would be perhaps the next step here, is selling the cogs and wheels that they use when on the factory.
Is the project finished? Or?
The project is finished, as in the first phase of the project is finished. What we set out to do is accomplished. Now we want to expand on it because Odoo is big and so is field service. So there's a lot that we still want to implement.
Was it long to implement?
Longer than we initially expected, but not extremely long. So I think we were 4 months in this, and yeah, that was it.
Where the company was in the United States?
No. That were everything that you saw here has nothing to do with the customer, because privacy.
Okay, of course. All right. Thank you very much. If you have any other question, don't hesitate.
And also, if you want to know more about field service, we will be tomorrow presenting some more extensions of field service at 11:30. So might want to look that into. And you can catch us at the Hall 10 booth, where apparently you have really good coffee. So even if you just want coffee, show up and we'll be there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.